Grand evening, everyone. It is Monday, February 23rd, 2026, 1700 hours and 45 minutes Central Standard Time here in the United States. And we have quite a few new developments. Things have slowed down a little over the weekend. It was a fairly quiet, unusually quiet and slow weekend for these events. Though things are right back on track and have massively caught up and gone further and faster than I even expected, especially when it comes to the new nuclear threats from starting with China here. China is reportedly developing a new generation of nuclear weapons and has conducted a top secret test this month. That was from the New York Post. So China is developing a new generation, much more lethal, more effective nuclear weapons right now. So we have a new nuclear arms race going on as all nuclear treaties have ended recently. We have a real nuclear threat going on, and that is immensely concerning that we are even talking about nuclear threats now already. We are not into the exact time of where there's shooting going on just yet. It is about to begin any moment, any day. It could be happening as I'm even speaking. Though we are talking about a real nuclear threat from China. Of course, Russia talked about that recently. Russia is pointing their nuclear weapons at Europe and I think even part of the Baltic states. One of the Baltic states, if I remember correctly, uh, Estonia, it might have been. Very concerning news about the nuclear threat, the new nuclear threats that we have going on. And we have President Trump. This is from Israel Radar. President Trump has decided to pound Iran for weeks using heavy firepower instead of brief strikes. Israel will play a key role in assault. The scope of destruction in Iran will be unprecedented in Middle East history and, of course, the world history, modern history. That is also from Ynet, another Israeli source, another Israeli news source. Then we have the aircraft carrier CVN 78, the Gerald Ford strike carrier group that was off of Venezuela, that was involved in all that happened there, has recently arrived within the last day or so off the coast of Haifa, Israel. And I said, yep, the U.S. is ready to strike Iran at any moment now. I heavily emphasize that. Any moment, even as I'm speaking right now, the attacks could have begun. At any moment, the attacks on Iran will begin. It is any moment, hours, very few days away. These things tend to happen at a snail's pace. I don't put dates on things. I don't say it's going to happen on this day or that day. That is just not a good idea. It is not a smart thing to do. It may also reduce credibility. Things don't happen like they do in Hollywood movies. They happen over time, very slowly. There's a lot going on in the background that these news sources don't even know. Only military intelligence and some of the highest people in positions of government know what's truly going on in the background outside of the news sources that are reporting all of this. There's a lot going on in the background. I heard Turkey and another country is even trying to prevent President Trump from attacking Iran through diplomatic means. They are trying to keep diplomacy going between the US and Iran. That's also likely been slowing it down a bit, though I don't think that has any effect on him anymore. And it is decided it is now a matter of time by what all the sources are saying. It is a matter of time until the attacks on Iran and this war that will be far more widespread than the Middle East begins and expands. Not so much begins, expands outwards from the Middle East. It will not be simply contained to the Middle East. It is not a Ukraine situation where it is just in Ukraine and then there's Russia fighting Ukraine, which has been going on for years. It is a whole different situation when it comes to Iran. Iran is far more powerful than Ukraine. They have been for a very long time. Then we have this here. The Israeli security establishment recently, just hours ago, they have detected IRGC activities that could escalate into war, also from an Israeli source, Ynet. So Iran has started doing something even hours ago that could very quickly escalate into war. They were very vague on that. There's no, not just yet, not that I have seen, has it come out what the IRGC is exactly doing. Maybe they are positioning their missiles to bombard Israel and US bases nearby, and those naval ships that are sitting on the water like sitting ducks for those missiles. Those ships have some defensive capabilities, though they're not. There's only so many hypersonic missiles going most beyond Mach 9, which is far faster than the speed of sounds, like 8 times faster, that they could stop. So we have some kind of IRGC activities going on today in recent hours that could escalate things, that could move this whole thing forward a lot faster now as well. Then we have this here from the leader, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu.
איש אינו יודע מה ילד יום. אנחנו עם עין פקוחה. אנחנו ערוכים לכל תרחיש. איש אינו יודע מה ילד יום.
So he's saying no one knows what tomorrow will bring,
אנחנו עם עין פקוחה.
but we are prepared for any scenario. I have conveyed to the Ayatollah regime that if they make what may be the gravest mistake in their history and attack the state of Israel, we will respond with a force they cannot even imagine. That is from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has been fighting Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis for quite a while now. Another thing about Benjamin Netanyahu, him and his brother, they fought in the Israeli special forces many years ago, and one of his brothers died in a operation. It was a famous operation. Forget exactly what it was called. So Benjamin Netanyahu has a lot of personal vengeance and bias against Iran and its proxies. So this is pretty much the Israeli prime minister threatening maybe even to use nuclear weapons on Iran if they are attacked. It is one of the only things that they could do to survive in a massive attack from Iran. Iran has thousands of missiles, some of the most advanced in the world that rival Russia. China is slightly behind, I would say, even Russia, though Iran has, once again, they specialize in missiles, missile technology. They have for a very long time. I believe they have nuclear weapons, possibly. That is a belief. They possibly have nuclear weapons. It has been found out recently that Iran has enough material to make 20 to 100 nuclear weapons right now. That is very relevant to the nuclear threat that is going on now. This here is from RT News. Also, which shows the army commander in chief Hatami in Iran. The claim that the U.S. is unbeatable is false. They fought for 20 years in Vietnam, Afghanistan, and ultimately withdrew in disgrace, he said. This is what he said. And with all our strength, God willing, we will defend and preserve our beloved Iran, our country's independence, and the Islamic Republic government, which is itself the most important guardian of the country's territorial integrity with determination, God willing. Let's see. Which is itself the most important guardian of the country's territorial integrity with determination. We will defend and preserve our beloved Iran, he said. Our country's independence, he also said, and the Islamic Republic government, which is itself the most important guardian of the country's territorial integrity with determination. That is what the IRGC, I suppose, commander in chief, the army commander in chief, Hatami, said over there, raising the morale of his troops and pointing out very arguable situations when it comes to Vietnam and Afghanistan. There's a lot of debate over those wars, those U.S. involvements. Very complex situations those both were. Now, this is one of the most delusional things President Trump has ever said, maybe in his entire life. Trump says war with Iran would be easily won, he says. He said it would be easily won. It's not even remotely possible to be easily won exactly with even all they have over there. Iran is a country of mountains, mountainous bunkers. They specialize in advanced missile technology, cybernetic warfare, and as you could see here, one of President Trump's top generals has warned from RT News that Iran and a strike on Iran could carry serious risks. It's also from the Washington Post. General Dan Kane warns of munition shortages, limited allied backing, and potential danger to U.S. troops. That's all on top of just what Iran itself is. Munition shortages, that's absolutely major. That means before the war over there and the wider war, there is shortages of munitions to even use for that war in Iran. Then we have this massive new breaking news here. This unexpectedly massive breaking news. North Korea is reportedly planning a nuclear strike on Israel. A nuclear strike on Israel would absolutely wipe out likely the entirety of Israel, especially if they use more than one. There would be nothing left there besides sand, glass, and ash. North Korea, this is an absolute wild card here that just showed up. North Korea is a vassal of sorts of China. They've likely received nuclear weapons. They have long range missiles as well that could easily reach Israel from North Korea. That would be an ultimate test of North Korea's new missile capabilities. And it is very likely they've been given nuclear warheads by China. So we have this new nuclear threat to Israel, likely the US, especially those ships over there. They could use this tactical or strategic level nuclear weapon in and around Israel. They could use their nuclear weapons around Israel and even on Israel itself. Very concerning news there. It is very likely, very possible that North Korea does that. He's somebody who does not care what happens to North Korea itself and the people there. He's an absolute dictator, and he's convinced his people there that he's a god of sorts. Very dangerous, very near psychotic man Kim Jong Un is. It is very possible for that to happen. That is a very interesting wild card that has shown up in this whole situation. Lastly, we'll look at the price of metals. Price of gold currently is over $5,000 per ounce. It has took a serious dive some reason. Very unusual. Though earlier it was at around $5,247. It dropped by about $20. Very unusual. And then we have silver rising up from that bottom dip. Weird how those two metals took that steep dip very far, way down. Silver is on the rise once again. It will likely beat its record this week at this current rate. Both of these will likely beat its record this week. Silver's got a little ways to go. It'll be maybe beyond this week. It might take some more time. They just took very large dip, though they're skyrocketing once again. People realize the absolute value of these precious metals. They hold their value, they have intrinsic value of their own. I recommend those metals, though it is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. If you decide to do so, that is your own personal decision. Physical assets, I recommend as well. Gold, silver, ammunition, storable foods, freeze dried foods, land. Land itself is a physical asset. Uh, Farm animals, like a farm on land, massive physical asset right there. So keep on preparing, especially for the potential new, not potential new, we have these new nuclear threats. Prepare for even these new nuclear threats that have the potential to really materialize and come to fruition. Very concerning news on the nuclear threat there. I will be back soon with further updates. Keep on preparing, especially for these new nuclear threats. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Even share out this video to those you know who may be interested in knowing all this information and knowledge, this information preparedness here. Once again, I will be back soon with further updates. Love, light, and blessings to you all.